Hello,
Hey, Andrew.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for bringing me in.
Of course.
All right. I gotta make sure I got all my screens, everything set up.
Cool.
Okay, Jen, you are now the host, and you guys are live on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Okay, if you need anything, just shoot me a text and have a great meeting.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Bye, guys.
Thank you. How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
They had multiple meetings they had to kick off, like Kate's working on. So I was like, just show up. I'll show up early and let her go.
Thanks for doing this.
Yep.
I gotta turn off the Wi-Fi on my phone. It's off, okay. So Jen, I know the final historic preservation for the townhouse came out a little late. And that's probably the one we're gonna have the most conversation about.
Yep.
But and I'll say this again later, but there's we were still getting comments as of today from the town. So
All right.
you know how it is, last minute crunch.
Yes. Yes. All around.
Can you believe we're gonna get snow?
I saw that and I'm like, yeah, I believe it. I have my oldest son, his birthday is April 10th, and his first snow, he was like 7 days old. So this is about right.
Oh. But it is nice to finally have the sun still at 7 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah.
Or some light, I should say.
Yeah.
Do you want, when it comes time to review the articles, do you want to present them or you want me to present them?
I can push them. I can pull them up and push.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good. If you could, then
I can plan to do
I
that.
can try to keep the meeting on pace.
I like it. All right. Yeah, so it looks like we only have the one document from her so far.
No, there should be two. There was a second one she sent out like 20 minutes ago.
I got, oh, there is a, is that a
Just the townhouse?
draft? And okay, it does have, I thought it was the same attachment. Okay.
No.
Okay. Get that one open.
It looks like Dorian's in the waiting room asking to be promoted.
Oh, yep. Wasn't paying attention.
Got it.
Hey, Dorian.
I've been trying to get in. I'm like, nobody sees me. How can you not see me? I'm right here. I'm
I was
listening.
busy pulling up all the files so we'd be like ready to go.
It's totally fine, Jen. I don't know why I'm so dark.
It's that beautiful skyline behind you, you know?
I'm in Florida. I'm at Disney World.
I can
Again?
see the palm trees. Nice.
It's real. It's not fake. It's real.
Wow.
I don't know why it's so dark.
Is it crowded down there?
I don't know why it's so dark. Empty, actually. But the lines don't affect me at all. So, I mean, there's the lines are like two.
Dorian, you're like cutting in and out.
Wow, I don't do lines anymore. I'm very spoiled. I can't, I don't know how to make me lighter. Maybe darken this.
Yeah, if you can cover that window, it should help. Yeah, there you go. Now we can see your face.
Well, you can see me.
Try this.
Now that's working.
That's
I don't
better.
know.
I like that. That's better.
Hi, David.
Hi there, how are you?
Good. How are you? Hi.
Good.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi, everyone.
how you doing?
Hello there.
Good. Just so everyone knows, we are being recorded, and I think we're live on YouTube already, so.
Yeah, we are.
Good.
Should probably go brush my hair then, right?
Yeah. Two.
What's left of it?
Well, do we,
Easy
you
there,
wanna-
Mark. Easy. I'll just give it another minute or so for Ben. And then Eddie.
I mean, it's gonna take you a couple minutes to read that ridiculous paragraph, right? So
Yeah. Betsy is on too. Can we promote her into?
I see John Parent, but not Betsy.
Oh, she says she's here. I can't get on. Oh, I guess she's trying to get on. Okay. Hey, Ben,
I might just go outside.
so
I'm pitch black.
we're just waiting for Freddie. She's kind of key because she's the one that's been going back and forth with the town up to like 20 minutes ago on additional changes. So that's why everything came in so close to the meeting. Let me just text her.
On a bright note, 32% match. Holy cow, I didn't expect that.
I agree. Bigger.
Yeah, I thought this year we'd take a huge step down. I was expecting in the teens or something. 32%, I couldn't believe it.
Didn't Boston just join it this year? I mean, that must have
Oh,
been a
that's
huge
right.
hit.
Yeah, there was that compound, like, you know, more people going for a piece of the pie, and yet still.
Understand.
I must have missed that information. Where was that posted or sent out?
Oh, it was an email that came out from the Community Preservation Coalition like a half an hour ago. It just came out.
Oh, okay. I must not be on that listserv. I'll look into that. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's before any windfall from the federal government is factored in, you know, it's great stuff.
And you see Betsy now?
Yep, she just popped in. I'll move over.
Yeah, I don't have that email either, Ben, but it could just be because this internet is very slow here and we've got another storm coming in, so.
Oh, okay.
And
I
I'm
can,
in Florida, so
Gotcha.
I don't have that email with that information either, so. And I just got the one from Freddie at 4:30,
Oh, okay.
which
Uh,
I haven't read because I just got it.
That's all right. We're gonna go through them, so. And that, like Dorian, you might have been on, but I was saying that the town had been sending updated requests and changes up to like 20 minutes ago. So
Okay, perfect.
that's why the delay in getting that out.
Okay, we
Uh,
have it, so we're good. I can't download what she sent though.
I'm gonna push it on the screen anyways, once we get started.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, for some reason, I'm having internet problem in this hotel again. I think it's because there's another huge storm coming through. It's very here.
What's the
All right.
weather like down there, Dorian?
It was nice and clear. And I came back from dinner and there's stuff everywhere all over the ground. But people are still in the pool, which is amazing. I wouldn't be in the pool.
Is it like, it's gotta be, is it 75 degrees?
It's a little bit cooler than that, Mark.
Okay.
But it's been, like 7, yeah, it's been about that all day, but now it's a little bit cooler. But it's been a gorgeous, gorgeous day.
Right, I think we got everyone. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A 18, the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Community Preservation Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information on the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with the right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. I don't know if you weren't already here to hear that. I don't know how you would get this information, but anyway, no in-person attendance of the meeting. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, so with that, I call the meeting to order. It is 7:07. Thanks everyone for making it. There's been a lot going on. I think the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve the March 18th meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
Second,
One small change.
Well, hold on, so Betsy's got it. So Ben made the motion and Ann seconded it. Okay, so for discussion, David.
One small change, page 6, the vote on the fully funding the townhouse. The vote shows David Joyner voting twice yes. Take one yes out.
You thought it was that important?
How is that important? We really have to fund this.
Any other changes or corrections?
I had one tiny like grammar thing that I sent Betsy earlier, but it's not substantive in any way.
Betsy, did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yep, and I'll change it. Not a problem. We also did not approve the March 10th meeting minutes. And I had one change on that.
All right, we'll get to that one in a second.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so the motion's been made and seconded. There's been corrections and updates are going to be made. So go to a vote and I'm going to call it out as I see people on the screen. So Andrew Mills, yes. I go with Jennifer.
Hanson, yes.
Dorian Drzezinski,
yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
Ben Smith.
Yes.
Excellent. So we got the March 18th meeting minutes approved. So next would be looking for a motion to approve the March 10th meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
Second,
That was Ann.
second,
Let's see.
me, yes,
Yep,
Stevie.
and Dorian seconded it. All right.
I had one small change. The And I'll change, I already did, but I don't have the date here. Under the meeting approval of minutes, I put down, because yes, I do cut and paste. I have down the February 17th, 2020 meeting minutes, and it's the February 22nd, 21 meeting minutes. I will change that.
Okay. Any other comments on March 10th meeting minutes? All right, so go to vote. I'm gonna do it the same way I see people. So Andrew Mills, yes. Jennifer Hansen,
Hanson, yes.
Dorian Drzezinski,
Sorry, yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
and Faniff,
Yes.
and Ben Smith.
Yes.
Excellent. So Betsy, just so I got a reminder from the townhouse a little while ago about one of them. I think it was the March 10th one because we hadn't voted on them yet. So
Yeah.
you can get
I'll
those
make sure
in.
those go out tomorrow, that it's all
Thank you.
Friday, before noon.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Great. All right. So next is review the townhouse restoration preservation article. So just so everyone knows, before Jen and I both got on early, Jen's going to push and display the write-up that Freddie sent out just a little while ago. And Freddie, I told everyone how we were still getting change requests from the town up to like 20 minutes before the meeting, and why the delay and everything coming out. So just wanted you to know I told everyone about that. So, well, Jen, if you can pull up the article.
Which one do you want first?
Let's do the townhouse one. So that was the one that came out like 20 minutes before, like 6:40, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, this one. Okay. So Freddie, can you give a brief background on the communications that you've been doing with the town to get this tweaked to where it is currently? Because there's been a
Sure.
lot back and forth, or I was getting nasty grams from the town saying, hey, we need it by this date, otherwise we're just going to print what the draft is and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so if Freddie, if you can give a brief background on how we got to this point and who's seen it, and that'd be great.
Okay, so it's trying to separate the two versions. I had conversations with Stuart at the Community Preservation Coalition as the CPC recommended after our last meeting. Then I spoke with Andrew about some of the changes or types of wording to have. Then this has been sent to Carla, who's the town accountant, and Brian, town treasurer, and Mark Purple. There were some changes made based on those communications, and then it was sent to bond counsel from Brian, and they came back with some recommendations which have been fully incorporated into this document. I just saw that and before the meeting tonight, so those have all fully been put in here. There's a couple of slight grammar ones, but anything of substance I highlighted in yellow.
And but
then
even, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then I got the one that just came in right before the meeting was from Mark Purple sending us town council's comments. And most of his were in line with, he had read, so town council has seen bond council's comments, and some of his comments were the same. I think there was one area, and that is highlighted in a different color. If I thought it was, there's one place you need to make a choice. So aside from that, I think the bottom line is everything here has been reviewed by council, bond council and town council, and at the end of tonight's meeting will be in line with their recommendations based on your vote, depending the either or section
Okay.
that you'll get
But-
to later.
So is everyone clear? Because that was a big point I wanted to make sure that I had, was that there's nothing in here that town council hasn't seen and already and either opined on or hasn't opined on it. So we assume he's good with it. Okay.
Yeah, and I will say this first comment in yellow, this was by Carla, and she said it was the municipal boards recommended it, so I added it in. I don't see that it's just technical language about allowing interest to be used to pay off the bond.
All right.
If that makes sense. So that's the first yellow.
Yeah. So
Andrew, that sentence doesn't read well.
That's
And
what I
I-
thought. I checked it 3 times. It's exactly what she sent me.
I understand, but I think, and allow the treasurer to apply, is it to the net premium, any accrued interest? To apply the net premium, any accrued interest, that doesn't make any sense. It's not reading correct.
I mean, we could check with her.
Maybe it
tomorrow.
means and accrued interest. Because you have your premium and your interest.
It could be, but again, it's not reading correct, so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need to fix that because it could mean.
I'm not going to fix it until we check with the accountant and see if that's what she meant.
So
It's her
well,
language.
okay. So let's just say if everyone's agreed that in general principle, what she's asking, we're gonna, I mean, it's not substantive to what we're looking for to protect the townhouse. Is everyone okay if we just go with what the town accountant says?
Can we say it this way, that when you vote it, that if I will ask her specifically if she maybe has better language, and if she says, no, this is it, we'll stay with it. And if she wants to fix it, we'll go with what she recommends. But
Is everyone good with that?
I
Oh,
think we need to see that language because depending on the verbiage of it, it could mean something totally different. I'm sorry, we need to know exactly what it's supposed to say. I don't mean to be difficult, but this is,
And Dorian, this is exactly what she gave us. So
but it does, yeah, it's just not reading correctly to me, Andrew. It doesn't make sense. So is it, and allow the treasurer to apply the net premium to the net premium or and accrued, like Jen said. So it means 2 different things. So it needs to be clarified. And this is the last minute, the last hour. That again, this is, the town sending this stuff in at the last minute to Freddie, and it has 2 different meanings. I'm not comfortable with voting language that has 2 different meanings and just meaning it. This is an important document. So that's my opinion. I mean, we have a board here for a reason. That's my opinion on this.
I have to agree with Dorian on this one. And since there's other parts of the document that we got to weigh in on, I think it's kind of, I don't think it's going to hold anything up. I mean, don't we have to choose some other language? So we have to weigh in anyway. What you just showed is probably the difference of adding the word "and" before any accrued interest. I get that, but
Let me double check her.
Let's do it right.
okay, hold on. So
Let me double check her email in case I could have made a typo. I myself thought it didn't read well, so I double checked. I will do with my quadruple check in a minute. I will
Okay.
say the process we have from town administrator and town council is this, what we send in tomorrow is what tomorrow morning goes in the packet, and it will be what the selectmen sign on Tuesday. Our only other opportunity, if it needs to be changed, would be to take a vote before it gets printed on
I'd rather send it in with the word "and" inserted in there than what's there. It's missing something, and I'm not trying to gum up the works, but, and I know, well, this is welcome to municipal government. This is we're living, we live with this every year.
Yeah,
But-
I'd have somebody contact the town treasurer and find out exactly what her verbiage is again. I mean, she's on salary, so someone should be able to reach out to her. This is important.
Right, does
Mark,
I mean,
anyone,
right now at night?
Yeah, I would. If I had her number, I would call her.
I'm trying to
have her
ask if
number.
anyone has her number. I see John
Um,
Parents on the line. I don't know if, John, if you can put in comments if do you happen to have her phone number? If you're listening.
While we're waiting for that, I'd just like to say, I think Mark has a great idea that we insert the word "and," because I really suspect that's all that's missing.
And
And then.
Give me
and
1
then
minute
also
to
if we
double
need
check
to meet
too.
again, If we need to meet again to resolve that, we can, but I think there's a 95% chance we will have resolved the issue just by adding that one word.
Or it could mean to apply to the net premium any accrued interest.
Right.
So there's two different things. There's two different meanings this could be. It is
Well,
not. written
that
clearly.
wouldn't make any sense, though.
Okay,
That-
John
that
Parents
wouldn't make
calling
any
her now.
sense.
All right.
Okay, so let's,
All right.
hopefully you can get a hold of her. She can attend. We'll get back to it. Sound good?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw a wrench in that, but
No problem.
Never.
No,
I'm still checking if
Do
I
you
got it.
wanna, do you want me to scroll down so we can talk about the other pieces while we wait?
yes, please.
Can you wait a minute until I finish checking to make sure I
Well-
didn't make a typo?
John
I'm-
Parents calling her too, Freddie.
Yeah.
I know, but why don't I check what before you scroll down?
I was just gonna let them keep reading
Yep.
because they haven't had a chance to read it yet, so.
Yeah, it says, do you want to check it while I read what's on my phone?
Sure.
It says, and allow the treasurer to apply the net premium, any accrued interest to the cost of the project, and reduce the amount authorized to be borrowed for the project by like amount.
Okay, that's what you got in there.
Okay, because I agree, Dorian. I didn't think it sounded right, but
Okay,
maybe the any is end. I don't know.
we have a chat here saying that Carla's gonna check and she'll get back to us in a couple minutes. So,
Perfect.
thanks, Freddie.
Thank you, John. All right, so did everyone read this part?
Mhm.
Okay, so the
Um,
yellow part on this, with the Board of Selectmen's express approval, Freddie, who was it? Who?
Okay, so that was both bond council, I believe, and Aldo, because it said before, it said a qualified historical organization. They didn't want, some historical organization doesn't have the ability to do this without these selectmen giving them permission to do so. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So
Yeah.
just added it right in.
Okay.
I will say there's a couple of times I had preservation restriction without perpetual in front of it, and bond council had perpetual added in front of it everywhere. So, okay. So this is when you guys had decided that the town you wanted the town to retain ownership of the building. And after I talked with Stuart at the coalition, where he wasn't quite sure how we could do it, and then I talked with Andrew, and then we came up with some language that's, sort of made it really hard to dispose of it, because I doubted that you could take away the ability of the town to sell property with a warrant article. There's certain rights the selectmen have to do. We put this in, bond council came back, and this in yellow is their language to what we had written. So to make it correctly for their needs, right? And then Aldo wrote, he didn't think that in all cases, the selectmen have, we can define how CPA funds are spent, but we can't define how the law that the town can, dispose of property. And he said he recommended the blue.
I'm sorry, he recommended which one, Freddie? The yellow or the blue?
The blue. He doesn't think we have the ability to determine what is power that is given to the by state law to the selectmen.
Well, I got to tell you, I prefer the yellow, and let that issue play out in court if God forbid that ever comes to that. But
so again, bond council is not town council, but this meets their requirements for making the bond, the yellow.
Okay, so Mark, I hear where you stand. Others? Who's in favor of the blue? Anybody?
Can we maybe clarify, like, shall retain fee ownership of this building? Like, does that mean like we still own it, but we could rent it out for some other use, or?
I think that's just a real estate term, fee ownership. It
is.
Yeah.
You
could theoretically transfer, an interest in the property to another entity while still retaining ownership.
Which in fact you are doing when you put a preservation restriction on it. You are giving up those rights, and the fee ownership is the actual physical ownership of the building and the land. When you put a conservation restriction on land, you retain the ownership, the fee ownership of the land, but you have sold the property rights. A preservation restriction does the same thing. So I think he was making that clear, because you can't put a PR on it and then retain ownership at the same time, if that makes sense. You're only retaining the fee ownership.
I think to answer your question, Annie, in theory, you could retain ownership and give somebody 100-year lease to use the building. Is that likely? No. Is it possible? I suppose it is.
I don't understand where this margin of a 95% approval of total ballots cast. So you're saying that the town has to approve this not by 2/3, but by 95% of the town? That doesn't sound A, reasonable, or B, legal to me. And because of that verbiage, I would go for the blue, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I think that can be challenged in a court of law very quickly. That doesn't make any sense that you have to have 95%. What type of a law would you have to have 95% on anything we've ever done with the town, ever?
So Dorian, I don't know if the last meeting we were talking about this, because now that we spent so much money on South Union School and the town's looking to dump it. In this case, we were looking, me personally, I was looking for some way to make it so that we're always going to own the townhouse.
No, and I understand that, Andrew, and I get that, but to put in here that we have to have a 95% voting in the affirmative for town ballots on this, that number does not make any sense to me at all. I think that's a little bit, 2/3 vote, I think, is the most that the town asked for, or 50%, but I think that could be 2/3. That's a very difficult thing to get, but 95%? I just don't think that's a reasonable request to have at all in this document.
Sure, well,
that's my opinion.
Okay, so you're for the blue. Anne?
I'm for the blue as well.
You're for the blue. Mark, you're for the yellow, right?
Yeah, can I don't mean to prolong this, but the reason I like the yellow is I have an inherent distrust of the authority, whether it's a selectman or a president or whatever. I have more trust in town meeting. If you give the selectmen total authority and they find a way to sell the building, they sell the building. If you give the selectmen almost total authority and they have to get approval from town meeting, they're not going to get 95% approval from town meeting. So the building's going to stay in the town's ownership. That's the desired outcome.
This is also not town meeting. This is at the ballot in an election.
Okay, that's
So, and
more the better.
I would say that the purpose of this language and the 95% was specific to allow people to vote, because I don't think you can take away legally the vote, but to match the committee's desire to not allow the building to be sold.
Right, but I think that would have to go to town meeting first. You'd have to have a 2/3 vote at town meeting to send it to the ballot. You can't just take this and say 90. I've never heard of a law or anything saying you need 95% approval from. I mean, you're kind of dangling a carrot, and then before someone gets it, you're taking it away. You can't have it both ways. I think this number needs to be more reasonable. I think this is an extremely unreasonable and impossible option.
Understood.
That was the
doesn't
point.
make any sense.
Yeah. Okay, we got it, and you're in favor of the blue. I'm trying to see where everyone stands. So
Well, I'm trying to get you to change the 95% approval rating to a more reasonable number. I mean, I think 95% is outrageous.
Dorian, but if everyone, if
and
the
you
majority is
shouldn't-
in
I mean, it
favor of the
doesn't make
blue,
sense.
we don't need to change anything. Right? So Jen, where do you
Well, I
stand?
understand that, Andrew, but I understand what you're trying to do too. I'm just saying, I think that what's throwing the yellow off is an unreasonable percent number. So that you, however you want, I'm just, you know me, I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking.
And you are. Thank you. Jen,
So I like the yellow because I like the fact that like the town needs to decide what they want to do with it. I agree with Mark on that aspect. So the 95%, I would be okay with changing that, but I like the fact that it actually goes to the town to vote, rather than leaving it in just the hands of the selectmen.
okay, David?
I similarly like the yellow for the reasons noted. And if I understand the premise and the purpose of it, and that's the number that's there. Whatever number that needs to be there to ensure that we're compliant, I'm fine. I like the yellow.
Ben?
I'm with the yellow, and I feel that the number is appropriate because our whole intention here is to prevent the sale of the townhouse. If we have the authority to set the number at 2/3, we have the authority to set it at 95%. You know, the goal, and we're not trying to be sneaky here. We're being very clear. We're trying to make it very difficult for the town to sell the townhouse and to ensure that would never happen unless there is an incredibly broad base of support in the town for that to happen. So I'm in favor of the yellow.
Okay, so we got the majority who wants to go with the yellow. All right, so now let's just go to the percent. Well, I'm going to start with, is everyone okay with it going to the ballot box? I want to start with that. Dorian, are you happy? Are you okay with it going to the ballot box before we get to percentages?
I think you have to go to town meeting first and get a 2/3 vote and then go to the ballot. I don't think you can go straight to the ballot, and I may be wrong. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I think that this has to be voted on at town meeting, and then that would get sent to the ballot box.
Dorian is correct. It's a disposition of real property, so it has to go to town meeting and get a 2/3 vote, regardless under our current bylaws. But we've added another step to it that it then needs to pass a ballot referendum.
Yeah, so you need 2/3 vote at town meeting to send it to the ballot box, and then you want 95% of the voters to vote to sell it if, and I understand that you don't want it sold. I get that part. I just.
Okay, So the
There's an
assumption is,
aspect of being reasonable. That, to me, we should be more reasonable, but I understand.
so our bylaw, it has to go to town meeting before it can even go to vote. So that's gonna happen. Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Can I ask for clarification here, Andrew?
well, hold on. I just want to see if everyone's okay with it going to a ballot first. Because if everyone just wants it to go to just town meeting, not to a ballot, then we don't have to worry about the 95%. Right? So, Jen, where do you stand on going to a ballot?
I think it puts a higher hurdle in there. So if our intent is not to sell this, I think it's fine to have it go to a ballot after town meeting.
Okay. David?
I agree with what Jen just said.
Okay, Mark?
I like the high bar. I agree.
Ann?
Yeah, I agree with that. I would like to know why the ballot, method was proposed by, I think this was bond counsel or
No.
whoever suggested this, why that was even proposed in the first place. Like, is that required or what was the purpose?
Can I state why?
Yeah, go ahead, Freddie.
At the last meeting, you wanted the town to not be able to sell it, and there's no way I could find that you can do that. And I thought this would be a way to meet your needs. Well, I don't know.
Would it be legal if we just did town meeting? Or one way?
2/3 vote, then you can take it out. You don't need, any disposition of land needs a 2/3 vote. And town meetings can be stacked. So putting a election was a higher bar, and also the 95% was an even higher bar. It just basically says you can't sell it because, I mean, and I thought it might be a way that you could legally say you can't, put it, you can't, I don't believe you can say you can't sell it, which is what the committee wanted.
Okay.
So this
Yeah,
was a
no,
way
I'm
to,
fine
and
with-
I don't know that this is legal. But you can pass it and then find out.
Right.
I'm
We
fine
can
with
pass
going
and
to
then
meeting and then
adjust
the
it. then.
ballot. That's fine.
You like that? Ben?
Yeah, I think Freddie hit the nail on the head. We've all seen it. Town meeting can be packed on certain issues. And this sidesteps that to a pretty good degree. So I think the ballot's the appropriate place.
Okay. All right. So it
Can
sounds
we
like we're,
legally tie the hands of the Board of Selectmen to not allow them to sell a building? Do we have the authority to do that?
we're not tying their hands that they can't sell the building. We're just saying you have to get a high percentage from the ballot box to have that happen.
Right, but we're basically making it impossible for them to be able to sell the building because of a 95% approval.
So
I
I think
have a problem with the 95%, Andrew. Even if you lowered it to 75 or you lowered it to 80.
that's
it
my
makes
next
more
question.
reasonable.
That's
Yeah.
my next question is the percentage. I'm trying to go down and see where we're in agreement and then figure out where we're going to tweak things. So what is the lowest percentage you think is reasonable, Ben? And I'm going just because you're the highest one on my screen now.
Was it
Who, me?
Andrew?
Ben.
Okay.
The intent is to make it very difficult to dispose of the townhouse. So for me, the 95%, I feel like that's where it ought to be. It's not impossible, but it makes it very difficult. The town's got to be very sure of itself it's going to happen.
Okay. Mark, you're next on my screen. Mark?
I'm fine with the 95. If it's a deal breaker, I'll lower it a little bit, but I don't mind telegraphing what our intent is here.
Okay. Dorian?
I don't like the 95%. I would lower it to make it more reasonable. I
What-
think
so
it's making
what's
us
the
down
lowest?
80, 85, 80%, 75%. To me, it needs to be a more reasonable number. It looks like we're trying to, I know what we're trying to do. I understand we don't want the building sold, but I also don't want to look completely unreasonable as a committee member and trying to control this and telling the board of selectmen what they can and can't do. I am not comfortable with 95%. So
Okay,
to
but
me, I want to be more reasonable. So say 80%. I just think 95 is ridiculous number.
Okay, so the lowest you would go is 85. What's the highest you'd go?
85.
85. Okay. Jen?
I'm fine with the 95% because what we're trying to achieve. I think 80 would be my floor though.
Okay. David?
I am also fine with the 95%. I think we're clear on what we're trying to accomplish, and I'm fine with it at 95.
Ann?
I'm fine with 95%. I do think that it appears, it has a perception of being very extreme. I think I would be more in favor of something like 90%, which still makes it very, very difficult, close to impossible to pass, but maybe isn't as extreme as 95%.
Okay. So, the only thing we're on, I'll take a motion for whatever people want to say for the margin of approval at town ballot on this one, and we can vote. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to require a 90% approval of the ballots cast, otherwise to retain what's highlighted in yellow.
So that was 90.
90, sure.
Okay,
Second.
there's a motion. Any discussion? All right, I'm going to go down in order as I see people. Ben,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Dorian,
No.
okay. Jennifer,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. Okay, we got that one done. We're gonna go
Hey,
with
Andrew, I
Yep.
have Carla in the audience. Can I bring her over?
Oh, yeah, let's bring her in.
All right.
Yep, please.
Okay. She should be in.
It's either a comma or the word and.
Hey, Carla. I think you're on mute.
Okay, hi.
So Carla, we got a lot of questions around can you see our screen?
Yes, yep.
So in yellow, Freddie took exactly what you texted her, I guess, and put it in here. And there was a lot of discussion. People said it didn't read right, and we want to make sure that we're putting in for the warrant article, the wording that you requested.
Okay, just stick an and after the word premium.
Okay.
And that's,
And that's it.
okay.
You're good to go.
Betsy, did you get that? Or Freddie?
I have it, so it will read the net premium and any accrued.
Yep.
Got it.
All set.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you,
Any other
Carla.
questions from the CPC while we have Carla? Is everyone comfortable with that now? That's a yes.
Yes. Comfortable.
Carla.
Yes.
All right. Carla, thank you for attending.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
Carla.
night.
Appreciate it. John, thanks for reaching out to her again. All right. Excellent. We got that one wrapped up. So let's go a little further down. Jen, can you scroll back down to where we were?
Yep. Yes. Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So up here, and it talks about, so this preservation's on the historical facade and windows. So am I wrong, but doesn't facade mean like the front facing of a building, not the entire envelope?
That's correct.
I feel like that's the wrong word. If we're doing this work all the way around, like this means that we could do something on the back or change it or like. completely, right?
So we'll change it to the exterior.
Good catch, Ben.
Okay.
That work, Freddie? Freddie?
Yeah, I got Barky Harley. Can you say that again?
We're gonna change, instead of where it says historical facade, we're gonna say historical exterior.
Okay. Good.
Okay,
All right. So I'll scroll
Andrew,
down.
do you want to say building
pickup.
exterior, or just want to say exterior?
I think, I mean, I'll defer to Mark on whether we. how
It says
specific-
townhouse building.
Okay, right there. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
No,
No, no
that's
problem.
that's good.
Also, just so you're aware, Andrew Pfaff is raising his hand.
Ooh.
Are you taking comments?
Not right now, I'm just trying to get through this.
Okay.
I mean, we've already gotten everything through.
Sorry, Andrew.
That's no
Or he
problem.
can chat to us too. So, all right. Sorry. So we are okay. This is the next section then for you to read the rest of it.
So Freddie, can you talk a little bit about the,
Sure can. So this is a language I had put in about the preservation restriction needing to be in place before any work started. After your last meeting, I listened carefully to the meeting itself, and there were different recommendations. And one of them was 180 days after it started, but there was the intent was to get the PR on it and not hold the project up, but there was no consequence if the PR wasn't put on it. And what we've seen to date with the library, and so I talked about it with Andrew before I wrote the language, and we put this in to see what happened. And so bond counsel came back, and this is the language he recommended. And town council didn't say, he had no comments on this section of it. So to me, it's good to go. Whether people like it or not, there's no reason not to. And it's in correct legal language per bond counsel and Aldo reviewed bond counsels. So the issue is, how do you ensure that a preservation restriction is filed? And if they start the work, you really can't not pay the bills. I don't think the town has $2 million somewhere. And you've seen how we get pressured to pay bills on projects that may not be properly finished.
Freddie, how seriously are we handcuffing people by this? I mean, is it a 9-month process to get a preservation restriction, or if people are reasonable, can this be done in 60 or 90 days?
So just so you know, John does have his hand up as well, because I know we were discussing this with him before.
So haven't we been working on the library preservation restriction for going on 3 years now? And so my concern would be, if we hold up the construction based on the PR, then by the time we actually start work, the cost might be different. The project could look very different at that time.
Can I respond? The 3 years at the library, they haven't even identified a holder. They haven't even started negotiations. That's not working on it. That's what we're trying to prevent. I don't think it can happen quickly. To get a PR, you have to identify the holder, and then you have to negotiate with the holder, and it takes some time. So I'm going to step away for a minute.
Andrew, I have a question.
Yeah.
If we do a preservation restriction prior to construction, how are we going to do the work? So if you're going to restrict any work on the building, you can't change anything. How are you going to do any construction once there's a preservation restriction on it?
Well, the preservation
And-
restriction is, the preservation restriction is to restore it historically. It's not the, I mean, you can still do work later.
This property dollars to get a
It's a
preservation
governing
restriction.
document.
I'm sorry, Mark?
It's a governing document. It guides whoever's doing the work.
Right, but if we do the restriction first, like this is reading, how are they going to be allowed to do the work on the building? Then you can't do it. Once the restriction is in place, it's restricted. So I'm not really
It doesn't work that
understanding.
way.
It doesn't? Okay.
No, so because they're going to have to maintain the building in the future also, so that the restriction allows work to be done on the building as long as it's historically appropriate. In the PR sort of defines how that's established. You know, what's historically appropriate. And also, as a last resort, we did something similar with the conservation restriction on the golf course. We could simply include the scope of work of this project within the preservation restriction as sort of a carve, if it came to that. But either way,
Okay.
it absolutely can be addressed in the PR.
Okay, that answers that part of my question. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Why can't we put the restrictions on the actual deed of the property itself versus doing a preservation restriction that costs the town, the taxpayers $100,000? I mean, I'm throwing that number out. I have no idea what they cost. And the amount of time, instead of just literally putting it in the deed.
So
what is the difference with this?
The preservation restriction, we'd have an outside entity that would oversee and come, an independent party that would come and monitor the building every year to make sure that we're not breaking the contract that was made. And they could actually, if needed be, they could then take whoever owns the building at the time to court and say, you're breaking the preservation restriction that was entered into to keep this historical.
It's an effort to actually monitor
Okay.
what's happening with the property, which historically this and many other towns haven't done a great job at.
So, and I think
it's
that's
an
in line
awful
with,
lot of money, and if it's working, that's great. But if it doesn't work well and it doesn't really help us, I'd rather try to find a different way and not spend that kind of money if we can protect the building versus in the deed. And Mark, I don't know anything about, writing deed restrictions, but and I'm not knowledgeable enough about this type of stuff. So I'm just kind of devil's advocate.
It's a good question. It's the functional equivalent of a deed restriction, but with a monitoring entity, and for good reason, I would suggest.
and that's also in line with what Andrew Faniff IM'd me or put a question through the Zoom, asking if he might recommend that we use a deed restriction.
Can I jump in?
I just want to be clear because I want the public to know what Andrew had said so that it's not like there's side conversations going on. He said he would
Right,
recommend.
Can we bring John into, John Parents in the audience, and this is his.
Can I just
Thank
finish
you.
what I'm trying to do?
Yeah, but I'm just asking if anyone sees that he wants to come in.
Right.
Sorry,
so
Andrew.
Andrew Faniff said I would recommend a property use a deed restriction as the Southborough town of government use only, just like the library when we was donated by Joseph Burnett can only be used as a library. That was his question that came through. I said I'd bring it up, but I think
Can I make a comment there, Andrew?
Yeah.
if you want the building preserved, a preservation restriction, the other ways of protecting it is not in perpetuity, and it doesn't give you the level of protection. It's why, you know, if you go to the Community Preservation Coalition, they recommend not deed restrictions, not any other method, a preservation restriction. And if you go to any historical professionals, they will recommend a preservation restriction. Now, if you want a lesser protection that's not in perpetuity and doesn't protect as much and doesn't hold up in court, go with something else. But that's, you know, this is the Cadillac of, I don't know if Cadillac's the right term nowadays, but it's the best protection you can get. And it doesn't matter who owns the property in the future, you have the protection that goes with the property.
Right.
Also, just to clarify, Andrew Pfaff's message came in before we started discussing this section. So that might have been a general comment to us about, as we're going through this process, like nothing in here did we actually talk about what would be the use of the building. So.
Yeah, and from my perspective too, I think you've seen like the South Union School go through a lot of different uses. I'm more concerned that the town just keep the building as a town asset or use. Is it feasible in 100 years that they can still fit the entire government in there, or key pieces of government? I don't know, but me personally, I think the building should just stay with the town, and it could get repurposed in the future. That's what. So I don't want to make that, that requirement. Does anyone feel differently?
I know.
Sorry, Dorian.
I just know you can put a deed restriction and you can.
Sorry, you're breaking up. Anyone else hear what you said?
No.
I did not.
So, okay.
I think John wanted to join the conversation.
Yeah. You bring John in,
okay.
Jen?
Yep.
Hey, John.
Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good.
Good. I actually spoke with Lynn Spencer earlier this morning, and you can anticipate at least 1 year's time in order to get a PR. And that's if everything goes smoothly. Now, if we wait a year, I think we're going to come up a little short on money at that point. In the last 6 months, I'm going to be looking at steel prices. They've doubled, I've been told from vendors. Lumber's already through the roof. And if we pass this at town meeting, we're going to be stuck in limbo for a year. It means we don't hire an OPM. We don't have an architect on board. I'm fine with the restriction, of course. It's, that's what everyone was talking about. Is there any way we could just word this section that, again, everyone keeps throwing out the $100,000 figure, that $100,000 of these funds will be set aside for the specific purpose of securing a preservation restriction for this project?
We just need some time frame around it. I think that's the key thing.
I mean,
And John, I'm just saying, because what we've seen in the past, like no offense to the library, but the library their focus has been on the project, not on the restriction, and it's going to get pushed and pushed and pushed. It keeps getting kicked down the road.
Well,
so
I think part of that, Andrew, could be remedied by the fact once the library has theirs completed, we could follow their path. I believe one of the issues they've been having is that these are new territory to everyone. So someone has to be the first one to complete one so the other parties know how to do it. Once the library's completed one, we should be able to follow their path, hopefully.
And isn't there discussion of combining the PRs for the townhouse and the library building in one?
that was New England Historic suggested that if they were doing multiple, it would be a little bit cheaper because they wouldn't have to send someone out twice. They could just do it once and survey both properties at the same time. So that came up as a recommendation by a potential PR holder group.
Andrew, could I jump in?
Yeah.
This is something that sort of came up with the golf course CR. At some point, the draft PR gets submitted to Mass Historical for their approval, and that's outside of the town's control. So, I would be in favor of a deadline for submittal of a draft preservation restriction to Mass Historical. At the last meeting, we talked about that would be submitted within 100 days after the commencement of construction activities. Given the project still has to go out to bid, and then once construction starts, another 180 days. If diligent effort is applied, I'm confident a PR can be drafted in that time. I'm 100% confident. I don't think it's been a super high priority with the library, perhaps, if it's taken this long. I know one can be put together and submitted to Mass Historical within that time. I think that would probably give about 3/4 of a year to get it done.
So
Okay.
180 days after construction starts, I would say that would probably be doable.
No, he's saying 100 days from when if this gets approved.
No, well, I was saying, no, 180 days after the start of construction activities.
180 days after construction. Okay.
Yeah, so, if this gets approved at town meeting, and let's say the funding is unavailable, it can go out to bid, I would imagine that John, Mr. Parent can correct me if I'm wrong, but we'd be looking at an award maybe sometime around the beginning of August. If things, go extremely well, end of July, early August. And then construction realistically wouldn't start for another month after that. I think that gives about 3/4 of a year to get it done, allowing enough time for it without creating a crisis. I understand. Let me just say, I understand that it doesn't give us a guarantee, but we didn't have a guarantee with the golf course CR. But unfortunately, I feel like realistically, I don't see another way to make it work.
Can I tell you that the golf course CR got done because the planning board, in their wisdom in issuing a permit, required it for occupancy. It wasn't because of the Warren article. So we'd still be who knows what without that requirement.
Yeah, I think what Ben's trying to do is the same thing though. So
I'm saying the same thing, that it didn't
Yeah.
work for the golf course. That wasn't why we got a CR on the golf course. It was the occupancy permit was tied to it through the planning board.
Yeah, we got to incentivize this without grossly delaying the project. I'm not sure how to do that, but and given what's going on in the economy, there's probably reason to think there might even be more delays.
So Freddie, hold on, this might be an incentive, right? Freddie, when is the first bond payment that we'd make on this wouldn't be until when? At least next year, right?
I think I know what you're saying. You can't not make your bond payments. I don't think there's any way you cannot make your bond payment. Can you? I mean,
No, we just say the CPC will not fund a bond payment until the article is on at the state's desk.
well, the
Otherwise,
problem
the
with
end of
that
the
is they can push off the bond and the interest you just keep paying interest on the bond. Like typically they don't issue the bond for a year to put a package together, and we're paying interest on the full amount until that bond gets issued. You're not paying down any principal. So that would be a way of, I mean, I'm not bond expert, but
Can I jump back in here? I'm just getting a little bit lost. I've heard no one with an objection to a preservation restriction. To my understanding, the Board of Selectmen are on board with it. I know you seem to be upset with the South Union thing, that they want to sell the building, but I think there has to be a level of trust between boards and committees in town. And this is a basic level of trust. I mean, they have stated that they're in favor of it. You're in favor of it. If we can put it together within a year time with 180 days after the commencement of construction, seems pretty straightforward to me. I'm just getting a little lost here.
Oh. History's not on your side, I'm afraid.
The library got funded with a requirement for a PR,
The project's almost done.
and that was in 2019.
Right, and to my knowledge, they are working on it, but as I stated earlier, it's new territory. Not that they're not trying to do it, to my understanding.
I would disagree. There was months and years that nothing happened.
It,
They haven't even identified a holder yet.
John, it's just a matter of like, once the project gets going, it gets pushed to the back and like, oh, we'll do it eventually. And
Well, I think a way to remedy that possibly too is, I mean, we would probably look towards your committee to provide some guidance on a PR.
we done that with the library, and we had the New England Historic, and we got pushed back that they didn't like that individual. It was too restrictive and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult, John. It's just, we want the PR on as quickly as possible.
No, I get where you're coming from. I truly do. But in order to do the project in a timely manner, the way that's written is not going to work.
Okay, so let's do this. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I've seen the prices of plywood and everything go through the roof recently as well, John. So let me go through with the board or with the committee to see where people stand on the present wording.
Andrew, I had an idea. Maybe you limit, you don't pay any bills. You pay the bond payments. Then what happens is when they put the bond out, we have the money in an account that we can pay bills out of. And that would leave the town paying for the bills.
There's no way to do that legally, I believe, because money has not been allocated for the town to pay those bills. You would have to allocate money at town meeting, I believe, for that. You
Okay,
can't just pull
you.
money from one budget for another.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Bad
So
idea.
Mark, are you in favor of keeping the language that's already here, or knowing that it could tie up for a year, doing the project for the townhouse? You're willing to adjust this?
I think it's too restrictive. I'm struggling with how to modify it to incentivize the drafting of a restriction, but not overly delaying the project.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to do that.
Anne, are you in favor of this language or modifying?
So I am in favor of what Ben had proposed earlier, requiring it to be, started by 180 days after the start of construction. But I agree with Mark that if that doesn't happen, there's no consequences as written. So how can we incentivize it to really make sure it gets done? As written, I think it's too restrictive, and I like generally what Ben had proposed earlier.
Okay. Jennifer?
So I agree with Annie. I think, yeah, we can't, it's hard to put something on it to force it to happen, but at the same time, this is if it goes through and gets voted through, it's the will of the people. I think it's a matter of just trying to hold them accountable to it, and making noise if it doesn't happen. But I like the idea, yeah, that was proposed to kind of put that 180 days on it.
David?
I agree with what I just heard from Annie and then Jen and what Ben had originally proposed. I think obviously the we want this to go. We know that we also want the restriction to be filed, but we don't want the restriction to prevent the work from starting and increase our costs. So I think we're trying to come to a compromise, and I agree with what.
Dorian?
I am in agreement that this is too restrictive. I'm in agreement with Annie and Ben, Jen and David.
And Ben, I think we know where you stand.
Yeah, I think it's just the least bad way of doing it. And I wish we could come up with some sort of way to give us some assurance, but I just don't see a way to do that that won't hobble the project.
So Mark, are you good with going with 180 days?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And if nothing gets done, then I guess we can cross that bridge when it gets there. At least we still have to approve the actual payables, even though the town enters the agreement. So, we can just be very forceful with, we need to see significant progress happening with the PR as we go. Not that that would be worded in here, but telling you how I can work with the town based off of what I'm hearing from the rest of the committee and the limited leverage we'd have. Does that make sense?
Is it possible to elevate this to the BOS or town administrator level in terms of suggesting that it be incorporated into their like official goals or objectives, just so there's more attention on how critical this is to happen?
We can try that. I don't know. I've never seen the BOS's list of goals, but we can definitely try. Okay. So it sounds like we're good with modifying this. Ben, see, Jen, can you type so we can actually see? Can you type in this document?
I believe this is just a PDF. I can't actually edit it. No.
All right.
How about if he chats with his suggested language?
Yeah.
Hold on. The only thing with chat is only those in the meeting get to see it. And I had this problem before. I think if we could pull up something, I want the public to be able to see this.
Okay,
Good
then give
point.
me 1 second.
Yeah,
I
if
will
you-
put up Word or something.
Yeah, that would be great. And I don't know if everyone knows, but it kind of came up with the town clerk that, using the chat function and the public not being able to see what's going on is technically a violation of open meeting law. That's why I wanted to read what Andrew Fanath had written before.
Gotcha. So can you guys see my Word doc that's open now?
Yeah, can you make it a little bigger?
I will try. Let me see.
Us old folks can't see it if it's not big.
I think, yeah,
Can you
that
read what I'm typing, or is that
That's
too small?
me.
that works. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Ben,
Thanks, Jen.
Pressure's on, Ben.
Yeah. The town shall prepare a draft perpetual preservation restriction and submit same to the Massachusetts Historical Commission no later than 180 days after the commencement of construction activities.
so define that. What's construction activities? Is that just signing a builder, or is that actual work being done on the building?
In my mind, it was work starting on the building. They'll have a pre-construction meeting that Mr. Parent will be a part of. Is John, is he still part of, is he still?
Yeah, he's here.
I'm still here.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of an identifiable milestone that's, with some specificity that we can call the start of construction activities.
There a groundbreaking?
Generally, construction activities, as you stated, generally is when work physically commences on the building. There's a design phase and then there's a construction phase.
Yeah.
And construction is when work actually begins.
Yeah, I feel like the commencement of construction activities, maybe we can't nail that down to, the specific, Monday that it's going to begin, but we'll know plus or minus a week.
Well, so basically, as soon as scaffolding starts being put up around the building.
Yeah.
Pretty
that's gonna
much,
be
yeah.
part of the 180 days.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's either that or, the signing of the contract, but that's making the schedule a little too tight, I feel.
Okay.
Can I ask a question here?
Mhm.
Yep.
Why are you tying it to when the building starts? They can start working on the PR right now. As soon as town meeting ends, before construction starts.
This is not starting to work on the PR. This is it being submitted to Mass Historical.
Correct.
We're not precluding them from starting. We're not precluding them from starting tomorrow. We're absolutely not precluding that.
So why aren't you looking at just a timeline after town meeting that's reasonable to get one going? I just wasn't sure when construction starts has to do with it.
I think this is just giving them an extra buffer, and I think it's. I mean, I like the fact that it's giving them more of a buffer.
I'm not
agree.
against having more time. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, what's a reasonable amount of time to get the PR done?
Well, I think that's what Ben was saying, that if it takes about 3 months to get everything in place, to get a signed contract and everything, there probably wouldn't be until September, October, probably, with work starting. Was that what I heard, Ben? Or John?
Yeah, that's
Pretty accurate.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to get input from John on that, just to make sure I'm not out to lunch, but I think that's where we'd end up.
So it'd be 180 days from that point, which would bring us out, to beginning.
And do you
of-
want to do you want to do it either or? Either 180 days after the commencement or by November 1st, whichever is sooner, or something like that?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, Lynn Spencer had mentioned, it can take about a year to do a PR. So technically, if we go to town meeting at the end of May, we're looking at a year from then.
Yeah, but I
So
think,
this even 180 is very tight schedule.
but John, the only thing we're asking is that the PR be submitted to Mass Historical. We're not asking it to be approved, because there's always revisions that go back and forth.
Right.
We're just saying it has to be submitted.
Yeah, then I would say if you leave it at the 180 days from construction, it gives me enough buffer that if there is a problem I run into, I can still get it done for you.
Get it done. Get it submitted.
Submit it to them, yes. I
Okay,
want to make sure I meet the deadline, and that's a deadline I believe I can meet for you.
okay. And again, we're not looking for it to be finalized by that 180-day period, but that would be really nice. But it had, for it to be submitted to Mass Historic, so that that's a significant milestone within getting the PR on the building.
Right, and anyone who's worked with me knows I really don't like things sitting on my desk. So I appreciate the buffer, but I don't intend to have to use it. I'd rather get it off my desk as soon as possible.
Okay.
Jen, can I there's one thing in the sentence that we typed out here, shall prepare a draft perpetual preservation restriction and submit same to the,
Same.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we're looking to take this wording and replace it with the last yellow section in the townhouse warrant article, correct?
Yep.
All right, so let's take a vote on who is in favor of this. I'm gonna go in order I see people on my screen, so Jennifer.
I think we need a motion in a second.
Okay,
I don't know that same is going to make it for, I haven't seen bond council and town council approve language like that. I could be wrong, but
Okay, it's,
How
I mean,
how about,
I-
would anyone be objective to changing to and submit before mentioned preservation restriction application? If you're
Yeah.
just looking for absolute clarity, call it what it is again.
sure.
Mhm.
I think it's sleeting.
Yeah, it is sleeting. I can hear it.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we have to call it a preservation restriction application, or is it called preservation restriction?
I think at that
What
point,
is
it's
the
a,
proper terminology?
I think at that point, it's a draft perpetual preservation restriction.
Okay, so, all right, good enough for me.
Right. So is there a motion that we use the recommended language for the preservation restriction for the town meeting article for the townhouse that we're reviewing currently?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, those in favor, I'm gonna go down the list as I see everyone. Ben,
Yes,
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
David Joyner,
yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
Dorianne Trzynski,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
So now, wait, we got to vote on the overall article now.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we made, we've reviewed the working draft of the townhouse warrant article. We've made amendments. Is there a motion to proceed with the draft warrant article we just reviewed this evening and submit to the town for the townhouse restoration preservation?
so moved.
Is there a
Second,
Second. Okay, I'm gonna go down the list again, the way I see people. Those in favor, any discussion? No discussion? Those in favor, Ben Smith,
Yes,
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
David Joyner,
yes.
and Faniff,
Yes.
Dorianne Trzynski,
Yes.
and Andrew Mills is a yes. Woo-hoo! And just to be clear, we had a 90% that was written in for the vote at town meeting.
Yes.
That we agreed upon before. Okay. All right. So now the next one.
Before you move on, Anne, will you be sure to send that to me tonight and I'll edit it exactly as written?
I think it was Jen.
Jennifer,
I'm not-
Sorry, Jennifer. I don't have my glasses on, sorry.
Oh, I dropped it in the chat, but I can, you want me to
Wasn't
email
it a Word document? No?
Oh, I just copied it. It's not a true Word document. I can email you that text tonight after the call. Yes.
Or maybe I can copy it all.
I'll email it to you.
So just
That
to
way
be
you don't-
clear, the only changes were that language, the 90%, and
We
the
changed,
facade was to the exterior, correct?
And the word "and" in the first.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was an easy one, yep. Thank you.
Good, good. All right, so let's go to the other warrant articles. So hopefully those will be a little faster. So I'm going to refer to them as warrant articles CPC 1 as it is here, so you can, so we're all on the same page. Again, I think we've been through this. The town's reviewed it. These are the numbers that we've got from the accountant, or Brian Valentine. Carla's reviewed these all, is there any discussion or, well, I'll change that. I'll be looking for a motion to approve our draft article for CPC warrant article 1 as written.
Waiting for you.
Sorry, people reading it?
I'm assuming they are because we got it late. If let me keep scrolling.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yes,
Thank
let's
you,
read it.
Lynn.
Okay.
So these are the set asides. This is putting the money in the appropriate buckets for all the money that we bring in for
Yes.
this coming fiscal year.
All set. Okay. And then it's just this, yeah.
So be a
That was number 1.
looking for a motion that we approve the language for warrant article CPC 1 to move to the town for the next town meeting.
Move.
So, second,
Gotcha, David.
you did by a half second.
Any discussion? Okay, again, going in the order that I see people, Dorian Trzynski.
Yes. Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
and Mark Murphy.
Yes.
Andrew Mills is a yes. All right. So CPC warrant article 2 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate $82,938 to apply towards the perpetual preservation and restriction of 84 Main Street. This is our payment to the annual bond against the Burnett House. For a motion to approve article CPC 2 to present to the town for the next town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, going in order as I see people on my screen. Dorian Trzynski,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
and Ann Faniff.
Yes.
And Andrew Mills is a yes. Okay, next one. I'd be looking for a motion to recommend a town meeting warrant article or CPC article 3 to see if the town will appropriate $13,030 towards the 2021 interest of the restoration and preservation restriction for the historical Southborough Library. Got to end as the rest reads, but this is the payment for the library bond.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, I'm calling, as I see people on my screen, Dorian Trzynski,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
and Faniff. Faniff. Was that a yes? Okay, she shook her head yes.
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen
Yes.
and Mark Murphy.
Yes.
And Andrew Mills is a yes. Okay. Next, we have to see if the town will vote to appropriate $300,000 for the restoration and preservation of the historic St. Mark's Bell Tower. This is warrant article CPC number 4 in our draft. Again, this is a carryover from last year that was part of the commitment that all the warrant articles from the prior year would be carried to the next town meeting. So I'd be looking for a motion that we recommend this for town meeting coming up in June.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Again, going through as I see people on my screen, Dorian Trzynski,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
and Andrew Mills is a yes. So on to Article 5. The CPC, I'd be looking for a motion to recommend the town meeting CPC warrant article number 5 to see if the town will vote to appropriate $750 from the CPA fund budgeted reserve for the restoration and renovation and restoration of Calander Field. And as it states in the rest of the draft, again, this was carried over from last year. And is there a motion to recommend this to town meeting?
So moved.
That David got in front of Dorian
Yeah.
on that one. I think Dorian second that.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so Dorian,
Yes.
okay, David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
Andrew Mills is a yes.
Two.
So warrant article, next I'll be looking to see if we have a motion to recommend the town meeting, CPC warrant article number 6, to see if the town will appropriate $47,011 from the for the trail request that we have in the draft warrant articles, as everyone can see in front of them.
Can I tell you an amendment
Yes,
where it says DCR in the
DCR.
article? I will be spelling that out.
Oh, okay,
Department of Conservation and Recreation. That was recommended after I sent it to you.
okay. Sounds good. So is there a motion to recommend CPC warrant article 6, which is for the trails request, to town meeting?
So moved.
Mark Murphy got in there for that one,
Second.
seconded by Dorian. So going, any discussion? All right, going down the list as I see people on my screen. Dorian Drozinski,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Ann Faniff,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
and Andrew Mills is a yes. All right, on to CPC warrant article number 7. I'll be looking for a motion that we recommend to town meeting to see if the town will vote to appropriate $9,950 for the Southborough Historic Museum condition assessment as requested by the Historical Society. Is there a motion to move that to town meeting?
So moved.
That was,
Second.
I think that was Jennifer Hansen, correct?
Oh,
It's Dorian.
Dorian.
Was Dorian? Oh, sorry. All right,
Don't know my voice yet. I spoke a lot.
there's a little delay sometimes,
Yeah.
Dorian. And I didn't have you, I wasn't at the top. of my- All right, so
That's my
going in,
internet. Sorry.
any discussion? All right, going down the list as I see people on my screen, Dorian Drozinski,
Yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
and Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
and Ann Faniff.
Yes.
All right, so the last one, CPC, oh no, this is.
That is the last one. We're
Oh, that
done.
was, okay. Woo! All right. So.
Thanks,
next is
Jen.
the-
Mhm.
Well done. Thank you, Freddie. Anything else you need? I know you need the, from Jennifer, the word.
I sent that off already, so she's got
Okay.
that.
Anything else, Freddie, you need? Ready?
It's muted.
Yeah, no, I'm all set there.
Excellent. Thank you, Freddie, for all your hard work with this. Appreciate it. To get us to a point, there's been a lot of back and forth with the town that I know can be challenging at times, but I appreciate all your hard work to make this go as smoothly as it is.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Freddie.
I
Much
would say this has been the hardest lift getting warrant articles done in the 17 years I've been writing them.
So we still have MOUs we have to work on. We can, I think there's still work, Freddie, with you and Mark that has to be done on those. Is that right? I see Mark nodding his head.
Yes.
After we pass this in, I think, we can concentrate on the MOUs.
Right.
For your next meeting, which you
Okay.
need to set, I think.
All right, so we're gonna skip that for now. Chair updates. I did get a call from any other questions on the MOUs? We push that to the next meeting? Okay. I did get a call from the moderator, Paul Semino. There is gonna be a dry run to go through how everything's gonna work at town meeting via Zoom on May 5th, I believe. I told him, Ben, that I was not going to be representing or probably bring up the St. Mark's Church. He asked who would. I said, you've been working with it with the applicants as we go through, and I thought you might be, you would probably read that at town meeting. Is that fair?
Yeah, the only reason I'm not saying yes immediately, I'm sort of conflicted. I mean, when we were first discussing this, I said that voting to forward it to town meeting, but my personal feeling on it was that I was going to be voting against it at town meeting.
I'm not. Yeah, well, it's just to present the warrant article to town meeting for what it is. It's not that you're voting in favor of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can read the article.
Okay.
I think I'd have a little trouble acting as a proponent for it, but I can certainly read the article.
No, I think and Paul also had requests that came through to him from I forgot their names now. It might have been Mark or the other guy asking, like, can we make a presentation and everything? So I would anticipate, and that's what we're going to run through on May 5th. So if you're able to attend that meeting, he's going to say, okay, this is the order of the articles. This is what you're going to read. And then, who has a 2-minute or 5-minute presentation. So my expectation would be, Ben, you just read the article however they want. And it's usually not the full article. It's the first line or summary piece, and it says as written in the warrant. And then if there are any questions, you step aside. The only thing you might get, if it goes to a question and answer on the town meeting floor, there might be questions about the number of votes. How did this, how does this meet the CPC guidelines? How we vetted it through both town council and through the coalition, but not asking you to judge or advocate in a way that goes against your, other than what CPC voted on, put it that way.
Okay, yeah, no, I can do that. I can do that.
Okay. So then the only other thing, let's see, reviews. So that's the only other piece I know of for town meeting. I don't know if Betsy or Freddie, if you've heard anything else coming up for town meeting.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Freddie?
Andrew, in that vein, being questioned about to what extent we vetted everything. If someone asks at town meeting if this townhouse project was run in its entirety by the coalition, what's our answer going to be? In fairness to Lynn, I think everything's above board. be nice to say that, yeah, we ran it by the coalition and, this amounts to restoration, where there's not an issue there. Can we say that?
Freddie, did you talk to Stuart about this one, correct? The townhouse?
He didn't review all the plans and all the work that's above his scope, but he did say that if Lynn was working on it, he would believe it would be completely in line. He gave her raving reviews for her, and that anything she did would meet the qualifications that would make it a restoration project.
And it's right in line with what we're doing for the library. We haven't, doing the roof, the gutters, the exterior and windows. That's all things we've done already.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt it's a historic building.
Yeah, and when you're doing historic restoration, when you're doing the preservation, you can fix things that aren't necessarily like the original shake roof or whatever it might have been, because you can't have a roof that leaks. You get to fix the integrity of the building. So there's no concern that this is not a historic project.
I just want to be able to, I do want to avoid an embarrassing lapse of dialogue. No, that's fine. That's fine.
I think you can say that we have done our due diligence and checked it out no one here, well, aside from maybe Annie, we're not historical experts. We have to take the advice of, you have John Parent, who worked with, I just went blank on her name. Spencer, is it?
Lee Spencer.
Yeah, Lynn Spencer.
Lynn.
We have received reasonable assurances that everything's in compliance. I think we can
Sound
say
like
that.
a lawyer.
Yeah, somebody does sound like a lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
Are we asking each group to actually present their project at town meeting, or how is that? Or is it being streamlined through us, or how's that working?
Oh, we asked them to be prepared to answer questions. I think with it's a fine line with doing a presentation at a town meeting, right?
Yeah.
I think once we find out where all our warrant articles lie, it could sway people one way or another. I think with the Clander Field, I think we'll have to see what the proponents want to do too.
Okay.
It's not I don't feel it's up to us to dictate whether or not they do a presentation or not. It is their warrant article. But I think we can recommend trying to be brief and to the point. So
And
I did get a call too. Sorry, do you have another question, Joe?
I was just going to say, if I recall correctly, last year outside, there wasn't a big screen, was there?
No, I think, and that'd be a good question. I'll ask.
So, because I know in previous years inside there's the big screen, but I don't think there's a screen last year for a presentation.
Yeah, so
other than verbal.
I'll ask if they want to do a presentation, if they need to print out handouts or something and have them at the tables or something, and see how that's going to work.
Okay.
That's a good point. Thank you.
You also have to check with Paul Semino, because he may be limiting the number of presentations.
I think he is.
Definitely limit the time of the presentations, but really the person to check with for that stuff, I think, Andrew, is going to be Paul Semino.
And that's why Paul called me originally, because the church had reached out to him saying they want to do a presentation. And he asked me like, who's going to be reading the article, who's going to be doing it. And I said I would talk to Ben, because he's been leading.
I would make a recommendation to anyone who has an article that they set up a Zoom meeting PowerPoint presentation ahead of time, so people can, you do your presentation in a meeting where, and publicize that. I think Trails is doing something like that. It makes sense. People can see it and have their questions answered, and do it ahead of time, because we once saw an article almost fail because it was back when we were at the last article. And it was the end of the night and someone did a presentation and I think people voted against it because they were mad they had to stay.
Okay. The only other update I had for you was I got a call this morning from Kathy Cook, the chairman of advisory. She said that they all voted on our warrant articles, I think last night. They voted in favor of all the articles except for the St. Mark's Church. But all the other ones they were in favor of. So, and Freddie, just so you know too, that Catherine did get her comments into Kathy Cook and said that answered all their questions. So, and they did vote in favor of the trails. So, that's all I had. Does anyone have anything else? Then there's one last motion I need.
Wait, we
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You need to set another meeting.
Yeah, schedule.
Second.
Oh, sorry. I thought we had one.
May 5th. Didn't we just say May 5th?
No, May 5th is the that's when Semino's having his.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Sorry.
So, well, Mark, for the MOUs and Freddie, how much time you need to work on something for that?
I'll do it tomorrow. I'm home all day.
Well, we're not gonna meet next week. So I meant how many weeks do you need?
I'm happy to collaborate with Freddie.
I'd like to give Freddie a week's break.
I'm all for that. I'll let Freddie, Freddie, give me a date when you'd like to either talk or meet, and I'll make it happen.
Okay. I need to look at a schedule because I'm taking some classes. I'm not sure exactly when, but why don't you pick a date and we'll have it to you.
So if we were to meet on May 6th,
So what's the week before that?
April 29th.
All right, so we'll have the draft to you guys like April 29th.
Okay,
What's the
hold on.
date
I might not be able to do the 29th, but if Ben can run the meeting.
No. I said we'll have the draft to you.
Excuse me.
Oh, the 29th. And then we have the 6th.
Excuse me.
That work for you? Oh my goodness.
It works for Harley.
I can do the 6th.
Ben can do the 6th. Everyone else is 6th work
I'm
okay?
sorry, what is this?
Yes.
I'm sorry, May 6th that we talking about?
Yeah, you'd have a draft done by the 29th of April. And then we meet on May 6th.
I'm fine with that.
Works for me.
Sounds good.
Yes,
Good for me.
works for me.
All right. So Betsy, can you see about booking the room for the,
Sure, I'll work on that. With,
Yeah, and-
yeah.
that'd be great. All right. So
And
then,
you want to schedule one for the annual town meeting a little early
and that's
in case
what,
you need it.
June 5th,
No, May 20th,
May
2nd?
22nd.
May 22nd. All right. So May 20th?
No,
Keep
May
it on
20.
Thursday. What?
Well, we used to meet on the day of town meeting like an hour early. I don't know what you do when it's outside.
Yeah, no, I'd rather meet on the 20th to see if we have to tweak anything.
Okay, so just hold it open and if we're all set, you don't have to
Okay.
post it.
So shoot for May 20th, which is a Thursday again, Thursday night.
Works.
I'm
Ben,
fine
so-
with that.
Another meeting.
All right. So the 6th and then 2 weeks later on the 20th, and then we have the 22nd for town meeting. All right. anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
David?
Yes.
No, I was looking for a second.
Oh, second, okay.
Go David!
Yes, second.
All right. Any discussion?
No,
All right, as I see you on the screen, Dorian Drozinski.
yes.
David Joyner,
Yes.
Ben Smith,
Yes.
Mark Murphy,
Yes.
Jennifer Hansen,
Yes.
and Ann Feniff.
Yes.
Excellent. Let's see, again, Freddie, thank you for everything. I know it's been really hard. And Betsy, thank you for everything with the minutes and getting everything put through for us, keeping us in line. Thank you.
Nicely done, Betsy.
And Jen
Thank
is
you.
sharing on the screen there for us.
Yes, Jen, thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you.
Excellent
That
job.
made it easier.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. It makes me so I can look at my other screen and know that I'm keeping things moving.
awesome.
Not a problem.
Thanks, everybody.